Welcome to this episode of the Sports Detective Podcast Show. My name is James Williams, and today we discuss if Joel Embiid is scared of playing in Denver against Nikola Jokic. Why are we talking about this? Well, the NBA was trying to kind of gear up because NFL's only has the one game left this year. The NBA is trying to gear up and basically kind of say to the sports world, hey, we are going to dominate the sports, calendar for the next 5 months. We're going to have a lot of marquee games kind of leading up to the NFL playoffs on Sunday. We had one really good game Saturday night where it was the Lakers versus the Warriors and it went to double overtime. Steph was hitting clutch threes. Clay hit a clutch three late. LeBron iced the game with a few free throws late. But basically kind of the bigger story that I think has kind of trickled online over the past few days is that Denver and the Philadelphia Sixers were playing. And, this was supposed to be a big marquee game because these are the guys that have been the number one and number two MVP vote getters over the last 3 years. They play the same position, so they go head to head. And, I think it's probably our biggest rivalry in the NBA right now of active, good players. And Joel Embiid was a late scratch. We'll get to this tweet here in a minute. Or actually, I'll just show it right now. We'll show you the Woj tweet here. I'm going to show you a few different tweets kind of regarding this whole Embiid situation. So as you can see right here, this is what Woj tweeted. Embiid is out with left knee soreness, sources say. Sixers training staff had concerns while watching Embiid during his warm-up routine and made decision for him to sit out versus Denver today. Sources said Sixers are without Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and Tobias Harris. Then you have Malika Andrews, who quote tweeted this and said, Joel Embiid has not played in Denver since 2019. That's 5 years, guys. Now, it was November of 2019. So it's 4 seasons. It's not 5 seasons. But that's still pretty darn notable. That is pretty darn notable because that is 4 seasons. And it's been a conversation these last 4 or 5 years of who's the best big man in the NBA. And it's between these two guys. And you would think that, maybe you'd want to play, against that person as much as you can because you might have to play them in the finals. You might want to, assert your dominance and show everyone in the world how much you care about being the best big man in the NBA. As we'll kind of see here, we'll scroll up here a little bit. As I just said there, it was November of 2019. Here's what happened actually the last time Jokic and Embiid played. It was an awesome finish. We'll go ahead and just watch the end of this game.
Here, 13 seconds, plenty of time. Nuggets down 1 into Murray. Here we go. 10 seconds. Murray to Jokic. Stuff it under, Millsap. Jokic. Put it up. He thought he got 2. He thought he got fouled. No call. Nuggets lead. An incredible shot. He thought he got fouled. He started to go to the official. Gets here.
Yeah, so that was a excellent finish to that game. As you could see, it was a very close, contentious game, and that's, what we want to see. We want to see, a good battle. The NBA has had I almost would consider an epidemic over the last decade or so where stars are sitting out in these key, matchups here. And, this was a big game. Wouldn't this have been awesome if we had the double overtime with the Lakers and Warriors, and before that, we had some sort of crazy finish like this? We'll get into the Joel Embiid stuff here in a minute. And we'll show you this Kendrick Perkins thing. Because Kendrick Perkins here, this is recorded on Friday, the day before the game. Kendrick Perkins kind of calls out Joel Embiid. So this was like a narrative building up to this game.
Right,
so we'll see what Perkins has to say here, and then we'll kind of talk about everything afterwards.
We have Embiid in the Sixers versus Jokic in Denver. So for more on that big man matchup, our resident big man, Kendrick Perkins, he's over here in Big Perk. I hear you having a little pep talk. Take it away.
Hell yeah, I do. And look, this is going to Joel Embiid. Look, we see this big sign, this big size centers, most skilled center ever. This man right here, he shows up when he's not in Denver. He goes to Philly and match up with Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid, my brother, business has been standing on you lately for the last, 4 or 5 years. You haven't played in Denver since 2019. You have to show up and give that man his lick back. Your big ass better suit up tomorrow. You better suit up and you better stand on business and give Jokic his lick back, damn it.
All right, the next game on our Pack ABC.
All right. There you have it, guys. Kendrick Perkins is exactly right there. I'm not necessarily the biggest Kendrick Perkins, the commentator fan, because I think sometimes he says things without thinking. And I think that's how he's gotten into trouble a lot of times. But I do think he's 100% right here, especially when this is a narrative being built up. And we talked about this last week, guys. Joel Embiid right now is the front and center candidate to be MVP. He's having a historic scoring season. He's on pace to win his third straight NBA scoring title. He's already missed games, multiple times this year. I think he's missed like 12 now. Or is it? I think it's like 12 now. It's 11 or 12 now. I can't remember the exact number. But we talked about it last week. We're at the halfway point of the season. And Joel Embiid right now is on pace to play in like 61, 62 games this year. Why is that important? Well, the NBA installed a new rule where you have to play in at least 65 games or you are not eligible for postseason awards, and that includes MVP. And right now, more so than Joel Embiid was last year, he like there isn't a close second place for MVP right now. And if you just keep sitting out games, especially games like this, people are going to not want to vote for you now because of this stuff. Because again, a lot of the times the MVP is narrative. Is that right? Is it wrong? Maybe, maybe not. But that's just how we decide it. And especially when you haven't played in Denver in 5 years, like, dude, like this is you're ducking him. There's no other way about this, guys. Like, you can't tell me each one of the last 4 seasons when he didn't play at Denver that that he was 100% like injured each time. You can't tell me that. It's getting to a point here where it's happened too many times in a row where it's not coincidence. It is not coincidence anymore. You're ducking this game. And it's like, well, the medical staff kept him out and he wouldn't want to flare up the thing anymore. What happens in the postseason, guys, when the Sixers have to play every single night and Joel Embiid has a knee injury? What happens? What happens? Oh, you're probably just going to get bounced in the second round again. That's probably what happens. Like, sometimes you have to play through injuries, and if you thought that, like, hey, maybe like I have this knee soreness thing, if you took a game off after that 70-point game against Indiana, you would have 5 days to rest for that Denver game. You still missed the same amount of games, but you probably wanted to play against Indiana because the Indiana has a terrible defense and they're also terrible at post defense. He didn't necessarily have the best game against Indiana. He did drop 30, but they did lose that game. I think he was like a -20 in the box score there. Didn't get double-digit rebounds. He had like 7 or 8 rebounds, I believe. But like, I think kind of my big picture topic on this, guys, is I don't think we can compare these guys anymore. I don't think we can. Nikola Jokic plays in games. Nikola Jokic, his entire NBA career, has played in 70 games or more every season except for one season, and that was last year. And last year he played 69. Do you guys know how many times Joel Embiid has played in over 70 games in a season in his career? 0. He hasn't even played in 69 games a year. And you guys can make the argument, too, that, like, hey, if you're playing in every 3 out of every 4 games, you might be able to, perform better because you're going to have your legs are going to be less tired versus the guy that's playing 4 out of every 4 or 3.5 out of every 4. Because I know no one plays 82 games in the regular season anymore. But, man, this is just a bad narrative here. This is just a bad narrative here. And this is where I think it is a little bit of a criticism of Adam Silver here, too, where I've criticized Silver in the past because I think sometimes with the players, he has a little bit of kid gloves with them where, he might, like, I understand treating the players nicely, because they are partners, obviously, and players have more power in the NBA than they ever have before. But you would like it if somebody, there was some sort of leader that would go to Joel Embiid and be like, hey, we know you might be a little banged up here. We know you have that knee soreness thing. If you're going to sit out a game, sit out the game on the road against Indiana that no one's going to watch, and not the game against, your biggest rival and the defending NBA champions. a guy that you were mad that beat you out for the MVP multiple years, a guy that you and your organization very publicly complained and very much ticked off a lot of people because of it, especially after you get given the MVP and then you get your cheeks clapped in the playoffs by the Boston Celtics and Jason Tatum in 7 games and blow a 3-2 lead. Man, we just can't compare these guys anymore until Joel Embiid, makes the finals. Can we see a conference finals appearance? Can we see you play in 70 games? Guys, he's not going to play in 65 games this year. He's not going to. He can only miss 6 more. He's not going to win MVP. And that's a shame because he's having a historic season. We talked about this last week. Go ahead and check my video out about it. We talked about it. He's playing incredible this year. But if you can't play in some of these games, especially these big games where you're like, people were going to roast you for this, dude. And, hey, cheers to you if you don't care, if you can kind of ignore the criticism. But, sometimes the criticism is right. Sometimes people aren't trying to, talk about you in a negative way because like they just hate you. Sometimes we're like, hey, dude, no, you need to play in these games. And I saw some people, it's like, well, I can't believe people are criticizing Joel Embiid because, him against Jokic head to head, Joel Embiid's winning 6-2. It's like, well, yeah, because he has a home field advantage every time. We saw the last time they played in Denver, Jokic hit a clutch shot at the end of the game. Wouldn't it be cool if we had an NBA slate Saturday where it was a close game like that and Joel Embiid and Jokic are dueling back and forth? Who cares who wins? And then we had the Curry-LeBron nightcap. That would have been a freaking awesome day for the NBA. That would have been awesome advertising for the NBA. It's like, hey, it's January and our stars are playing in these tough competitive matches. Watch the regular season. This stuff is entertaining. It's a TV product. And I think I've talked enough about this. Let me know in the comments. I understand it was a knee soreness thing, but, and I saw somebody in the comments say something, about some of these comment tweets like, well, it's like the altitude, and because the altitude, that kind of made the injury maybe flare up a little bit more. My only thing about that is, like, everyone's injured in the playoffs. Hypothetically, what happens if the Sixers do make the finals and they play against Nikola Jokic in the finals in Denver, where they're playing every other day? You're going to have to play in Denver in the altitude with that knee, and if that stuff flares up because of the altitude, I don't even know it's true, but I don't know. Just when's the last time an NBA, this is a little bit more of a personal pet peeve, when's the last time an NBA star was told to sit out by medical staff for a game and the star was upset about it? It seems like these guys are they don't seem that broken up about not playing in a regular season game, which in a way I get it. We only care about the postseason. That's how we judge these guys. But I don't know. I do think this is a bad mark. It's a bad look for Embiid. I'm not saying he was faking the injury. I know he's had knee soreness. I know he's missed games this year. But it's one thing. Cool. You go and drop 70 points on Zach Collins. Cool. Let's watch you get to the NBA Finals. Let's watch you play in Denver for once. Don't duck these big opponents. If you're going to sit out the Indiana game. Don't sit out this Denver game. But I've said enough. If you got this far and you're a Philadelphia fan, if you're not a Philadelphia fan that is mad that I just, had some pretty harsh criticism be there, hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, hit that like button. Check out the rest of my content. We talk NBA, college basketball, NFL, college football, a bunch of different sports topics here. So, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Thank you very much for watching. Help us out in the algorithm. Leave a comment on what you think, about this whole Embiid Jokic thing. So there you have it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you next time.